And if you turn up, if you turn up trying to pretend to be something you're not, you can't keep that up. You can't keep it up. And you'll die a little inside every time. I hope that more people will be bold and will put themselves on the page and put themselves into their LinkedIn posts and their tweets or threads or wherever they're showing up, because that's how you build real connections with people. If you're pushing against the way your brain works, then you're just setting yourself up for a horrible life. Welcome to the Bold Shift Club. Let's make this shift happen.
Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Bold Shift Club. And today we're joined by an amazing human being who I had the pleasure to meet a few months ago via Twitter. And she's honestly doing some amazing stuff when it comes to copywriting and understanding how to communicate your personality and your overall tonality so you can create authentic relationships. With all my pleasure, I would like to welcome Mel Barfield to the podcast. Hello, Mel.
Oh, thank you so much. What a lovely intro. That's beautiful. It's almost like I wrote it, but I didn't. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, can you tell us a bit about yourself so that the audience knows everything amazing about you?
Well, I don't know if we've got long enough for that. Well, my name is Mel Barfield. I live in quite a rural area of England, Northamptonshire, and I've got two young children who are both girls. And I came to copywriting quite late in my career. Before that, I was a careers advisor, which I always think is quite ironic because I didn't really know what I wanted to do. So I became a careers advisor and went freelance as a copywriter in early 2022. And my sweet spot is like the personality filled short copy. But as with most copywriters, I'll write almost anything. I tend to steer away from anything too technical though, because I don't know what I'm talking about. So yeah, and it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much.
Well, honestly, that was an amazing introduction, and let's get right into it because I love what you talked about in terms of, allowing people to express themselves more authentically in the phrase of short copy as well. I feel like it's very crucial to know who you are to be able to do that. You need to have a lot of clarity so that even if you're just saying 3 to 4 words in a message, it sounds like you. So I think the clarity is very much important. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, could not agree more with that. This is why, so I did a talk last month about this actually, about the importance of having a really clear verbal identity. And part of that is your tone of voice and your brand personality. And actually at the end of the talk, I kind of steered people away from me a little bit on this because Nick Parker is the absolute god on this. And he has some really good resources on his website. He also has a really useful Substack. So I kind of deflect off at the end of my talk. I was like, just go and see this guy. He knows what he's talking about. He's great. It's all about knowing how you want to come across and then being consistent about that. And when it's somebody's personal brand, I think the worst thing you can try and do is try and be someone that you're not. So from the very beginning of freelancing, I was like, right, I'm not gonna dress up wearing makeup for calls. I'm not gonna pretend that I wear high heels when I can't be bothered. I turn up to stuff in trainers. It was a real moment to break free from having to be anyone that I wasn't, and really leaned in hard to being entirely myself on LinkedIn and in meetings and stuff. And it's worked really well for me because I think then you're not. And actually, I was speaking to a lady called Carol Pike, who is a motivational kind of powerful speaker. I saw her at Digital Women Live, and she's all about building your own personal brand. I was talking to her for Freelancer magazine because I write some articles for that magazine, and the way she said it was like, if you turn up as your authentic self, you don't have to remember any lines. There are no lines to learn because you're just being you. So there's no way you can mess up being you, and you are only you can be you. There's lots of yous in there. The copywriters love the word you. So I think especially with a personal brand, it's so important. But with larger brand companies and businesses, it's also vital that you don't break trust with your customers, because if you always turn up sounding the same, that builds some trust over time. if you sound the same, then drop a massive clanger and sound completely different and go completely against like your normal voice, it breaks that trust really quickly. So yeah, it's just vital, especially nowadays with the AI coming for us. If you don't know who you are and what you stand for and how you want to come across, then you've got no chance. You're just going to sound like everyone else.
Absolutely. I think that's very crucial. And I love what you said about authenticity and the consistency aspect, because they both go hand in hand. Like, to truly be able to be authentic, not just to yourself, but to the people around you, you need to be consistent at it. That's how you create impressions. Because when you show up daily, even if it's like trying to make friends or just trying to create an impression, the more they see you, the more deeper the impression is, the more stronger the stamp is that, yeah, this is who this person is. And that's how they remember you then going forward.
Absolutely. And if you turn up, trying to pretend to be something you're not, you can't keep that up. You can't keep it up. And you'll die a little inside every time you're and you see it, like people talk it, the word authenticity is so massively abused because people use it and don't actually mean, this doesn't mean what they actually think it means. Being authentic isn't like deciding that you're going to be a certain way and then being like that. It's looking within. It sounds very cheesy, but it's about looking within and really identifying your core values, your core personality, instead of trying to like create one. It's about looking at what's already there and bringing it out. Because I always say, especially with LinkedIn, if you're interested in something, then chances are someone else will be interested in it too. Like there's billions of people around the world, so you're going to find your people much faster if you're posting about your really specific nerdy interests than you are if you're just going, Donald Trump, he's a bad guy or a good guy, depending on which side you like. Having really generic opinions on things it's just going to make you blend in. I'm not saying everyone has to be edgy. It's more like share what is interesting about you and what interests you, and then you'll find people with similar interests, and you can build a community. I don't quite like that word, but build a network of people who like the same kind of things.
I think it's very crucial, like with the whole concept of authenticity, everyone is trying to be extremely different. You don't have to be extremely different here. You just have to be what's you. If you have similar traits with other people, but if that is you, then just be you. I think that's the whole concept of being authentic. It's not trying to be a diamond and then everybody is a diamond and then everybody is different, but rather if you're similar to someone but that is who you are, just be that.
Yeah, don't like try and put on a mask and go, oh yeah, Pokemon, I love that, when you could name two. Like I can only name about 2 or 3. Like don't try and jump on whatever the trick. If you're not into Barbie, don't worry about turning everything pink and raving about how great Barbie is if you're not into it. But if you really love Lord of the Rings and you want to use some GIFs in your posts, then you're going to attract people who are like-minded. I think that's like, we're talking obviously with personal brands more so, but with larger brands, actual companies and brands, I just think it's so important to be really clear on your main kind of core messaging pillars of what you as a brand stand for and how you're going to communicate that. Because as I say, it can be so jarring. The example I used in the talk I did last month was, I don't know if you remember seeing a Tampax advert, Tampax tweet, sorry, that was like, it was a play on this meme about you're in her DMs, I'm in her, or like something like that. And it was this horrible kind of sexualization of a sanitary product. Though I don't like the word sanitary because it implies that periods aren't clean, and there's a whole language around period products and menstruation that is a bit problematic.
Absolutely.
But to kind of talk about, we're in them, and trying to make a sexual thing out of a tampon that is used by literal children. Some kids start their period at 9, so to be making jokes like that was very jarring, and they got a massive backlash for it. So having really clear guidelines on and social media guidelines as well about who you are and what you stand for and what you do and don't say, and the language you do and don't use is so important. There's literal money riding on this for the companies.
Yeah, I think that's very crucial. And kind of what you said in the start of this conversation was about being yourself and not trying to be someone else or trying to be that. I actually found myself doing this with a lot of my clients, where we take a twisted approach to that. And I take a lot of twisted approach with my clients because that's the kind of strategist I am, where instead of trying to be someone, I ask them what kind of trait makes them feel confident in being something. So like if they want to be confident or if they want to be bold, what is bold to them? And then we try to see who they align with in terms of the characters outside or the people they know. And then we try to ask them what about them makes them feel bold and confident. So what we initially make them do is try to be that trait. So if someone who is very much confident with other people around them and just does whatever they want to do is what they consider being bold, I tell them to do that. But the fun thing is, by doing more of that, they start to do it in their own way, or they end up realizing that that's not what they want to be as bold, but they find the clarity within themselves and they actually start to be more of their authentic self. So there's a very fun approach where we can reverse engineer traits from others just to truly understand what does it mean for us to be successful or our best self.
I really love that, because what you're doing there is you're meeting them where they are at the moment and not assuming that to them being bold is getting up on stage in front of thousands of people. To them, being bold might be posting once on LinkedIn because they don't like it. And that to them takes a really big step, or like being clear on their new product launch. Like that is bold for them because of their, where they're at the moment in their business. So that personal approach that's why you're good at your job. Without wishing to heap praise upon you. That's so important, because our definition of what bold means is completely different from person to person and company to company.
Absolutely. So I'd like to ask you, in terms of finding your own voice, how was that journey for you to be able to know who Mel was and to be able to express that more confidently?
Oh, this feels like I'm going into a therapy session. I kind of like it. I think that just to give you a bit of context about my background. So I posted on LinkedIn the other day something like my journey into being a copywriter was, I think step one was something along the lines of having my Christmas story read out when I was 10 years old in assembly or something, then dilly-dallied for 25 years and then became a copywriter. And it's the bit before I became a copywriter, I think, that that kind of made it was a path I had to go through to end up being myself. It sounds very cheesy. I keep saying that I'm cheesy. I am cheesy. I try not to be.
We all are in our own ways.
And the last employed role I had was with a local authority, and I was doing the online, like all the social media and stuff, and funding applications and copywriting without knowing it. Did a copywriting course and had this like amazing light bulb moment that this is my calling. I don't believe in that, but that's how it felt. Like it was this amazing thing that I can't believe I didn't discover this sooner. Meanwhile, in my job, because it also included events and stuff, I was feeling so overwhelmed by the expectations I was putting on myself. The job role being, so I went on maternity leave and dropped 5 hours a week when I came back, but the job itself got bigger rather than smaller. So it was a horrible place. And I think because of having been through that, and I couldn't think in a straight line, I was like called back to the office and I couldn't think in a straight line was the only way I could kind of describe it. So it got to the point where I had to leave. And I was trying to build up copywriting experience on the side, but I was spent by the end of the working day and looking after the children. I was just completely empty. So I wasn't getting any progress with building up the copy side of things. I was spending every Sunday morning that was like my lie-in. My husband had his lie-in on Saturday. I had mine on Sunday. And I'd spend Sunday morning just cramming and practicing, learning and practicing. And until the point where I had to leave my job because I couldn't carry on doing that when my heart and soul was in doing copywriting. And I think because it got to that point where I was just like, I need to leave. I now went, as I said earlier, I went straight into being a freelance copywriter I just knew that I was just going to be completely authentically myself, genuinely myself, not the LinkedIn version of authentic, which is, sugar coated and stuff. And I just knew that if I didn't do that, I would end up digging myself a hole again and ending up in a situation where I'm trying to be everything to everyone and putting loads of pressure on myself. And I thought the easiest way to live my life is by just being myself. If I'm interested in cheese, I'm going to talk about cheese. If I've got FOMO because everyone's playing the new Zelda, and I used to play Zelda and I love it, and I wish I had the Switch, and then I'm going to go, oh, I'm really jealous of everyone that's got a Zelda, but I'm really happy for you at the same time. So it's something that came really, really naturally to me. And when I was writing my website, I kind of set myself up a bit because I knew if I just had forever to write it, I would take forever. And lovely Sophie Cross, who is now my editor at Freelancer magazine, let me take over her Twitter back when Twitter was a thing that we all loved. And I set out my scheduled tweets of what I was going to say on the day I was taking over her Twitter. And the very last one was a link to my new website that didn't exist yet. So I was like, right, if I do this, then I have to get it done. So that, I think, because I put that pressure, the time pressure on myself, everything that's on my website is just almost, it does show, almost like brain to fingers, straight, like without much filter and without overly editing myself. And actually, I think that's where a lot of people, I was talking to a friend that's a copywriter actually about their website, because they had, they're doing the copy for their new website. And I was like, it doesn't sound like you. And they were like, oh, but it did. And I like talked myself out of it. Like, no, don't overthink, don't over edit, just get you onto the page first, tweak it afterwards. But I think a lot of people are too scared to do that. And I don't mean that in a braggy way, like, oh, look at me, I'm so brave. I mean it more as in, I hope that more people will be bold and will put themselves on the page and put themselves into their LinkedIn posts and their tweets or threads or wherever they're showing up, because that's how you build real connections with people. And I kind of found that out almost by accident, by just going, oh, fuck it, excuse my language. I'm just gonna be me everywhere, the same shape everywhere, be myself. So I love a pun. The puns came very easy. So in terms of my voice, there was very little, and it does show, very little crafting, very little editing. It really is just like me, brain to fingers on the page, or brain to thumbs if I'm on my phone. And I can't recommend that enough to other people who are tentative about like showing a different side of themselves. It really does pay off, because then people get to know you and feel that they know you. Sometimes it's a bit strange, because I went to CopyCon last year, and people recognized me from LinkedIn or Twitter or wherever, and I felt a little bit like embarrassed, but it was nice. It was really nice, but also a little like, oh no, don't look at me.
Honestly, that's really wonderful, mainly because the overall journey to embrace stuff. And I love what you shared about the puns came easily, and I think that's a very good reminder that you're on the right path. Because we work very closely with sex tech and femtech, as you know, and one of the things
plenty of puns there.
Yes,
rich pickings.
Yeah, and the fun part is that the moment we decide, like the moment a client comes to us, like I can already visualize things for them in terms of what they're telling me. And whenever we work with a sex tech firm, the puns, they just roll out of my tongue, and then we're just like bouncing off. And that's how you know you're in the right place, if you're able to joke about what you do and you're not being laughed at, but you're the one who's laughing with everyone.
Yeah. So what you're saying is that the oral sex puns are on the tip of your tongue. Is that what you just said? I mean, you didn't even know you were doing it.
I didn't. Oh, people are going to love this podcast.
Yeah, sorry. But I think like if you really enjoy, especially like playing with language, if that's your job and you enjoy it, then why wouldn't you like show that off? Why wouldn't you show it off wherever you're posting, wherever you're putting stuff? I think a lot of people feel nervous about it in case other copywriters think they're crap. I think that's partly how we end up with people overthinking stuff or trying to use templates where obviously there's like some formula that we use to capture attention and interest and desire, and there's a call to action. There are fundamental parts of, like, if you're a copywriter, you know how to structure things. For me, I tend to chuck that out the window when it's when it's my personal LinkedIn, because I'm not there to do, obviously I'm there to make connections that will lead to sales, but that's not necessarily my primary objective of being on LinkedIn. It's making connections that enrich my life in other ways as well. Again, I'm sounding so cheesy. Why are you bringing out the cheese from me? But it's about making connections, especially as a freelancer, connecting with people who have the same kind of values and interests. And I think it is nerve-wracking when you start. Once you get into it, you're away. Having that personality showing through. But like with your work, it can't be the same for everyone. So I think one of the things that people, and Emily Penny from Be Colourful, she's said this in the past, and I totally agree with her, that a tone of voice doesn't always mean being quirky and interesting. Your tone of voice or your verbal identity can be immensely dull if that's what your the need is for your brand or your organization. Like, that it's okay for the government website to not have puns and jokes. It shouldn't have puns and jokes. It needs to be completely clear. And that's where I really like, I mentioned Nick Parker earlier, I really like his primary voices that he's identified as being kind of the 11 primary voices that almost every company or brand kind of fits into one or more of those, because I think that's a really useful tool for copywriters when they're approaching work, to kind of say, oh, this brand is a bit of a fire starter and a storyteller, and or whatever it is. But there are very not dull. I feel bad saying the word dull. Not dull. Straightforward, simple. Like, one's even called the simplifier, I think. There are different tones of voice for different. It's all different voices for different types of brand. But I'm not a massive fan of the term tone of voice. I don't think it quite, because voice and tone are two separate things. Anyway, I could rant about that. I won't rant. But having that clarity is it's so important.
Yes.
And you can, if you want to, if you're so inclined, you can whack a tone of voice guide or a verbal identity guide into ChatGPT and see what it churns out. I mean, it's not ideal, obviously, but it's, even if you are going down the AI route, then that tone of voice work and the verbal identity work is absolutely crucial, even more so, I'd say, almost, because you're lacking the human element, so you need to plug in as much intel as possible. But absolutely. It's best to hire a copywriter instead.
I think the prompt engineering is very crucial, especially when you try to convey one's tone, because you need it to not just understand the humor, but you need to understand the value and the intellect that the person is bringing in. And I kind of,
Chat GPT can't do humor. That's like dad joke type. There's some of the jokes it's cringe. It's cringe. So they don't have any nuance. They don't have any context. Like, it won't throw in like if it tries to put song lyrics in as a pun, it's just really clunky.
Yes.
So it definitely needs the human touch. We
It
are
sometimes
not,
makes me cringe.
we're not
like,
out of work
it.
yet. Yeah, there's still work for copywriters because ChatGPT and the other generative AI is not it's not good. And as I said this in my talk the other week, that all it's doing is grabbing other people, like the words that it's I think it was Rand Fishkin. I put a quote of his in my presentation, which is along the lines of, I'm going to like ruin this quote, but I'll try. It's along the lines of, generative AI, ChatGPT, is really good at knowing what word is most likely to come after another word. Like that is predictive and predictable. He didn't say that last bit. I threw that in. So that is all it can do.
Yeah.
And it's very good at lots of things, but actually writing original copy, especially short copy, it's not very good. I would say that, but it's true.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, right? Like, there's a lot of work needed to be able to even train. Like, I know Chris is currently training his chatbot and all, and the amount of efforts he's putting in to make it there, it takes time, and you need to have those things indexed and everything. And I don't think you can just be like, make me this code and make it sound like some person is enough.
Yeah. You can't cut and paste a 3-line paragraph and expect it to be able to churn out good stuff. You've got to really train it. It's like a horse. You've got to break. Not that you should break horses. There's a whole separate conversation about whether horse riding is good. You've got to give it. It's only as good as the information you've plugged into it.
Absolutely.
So I just think, especially for personal brand type people, I'm a bit disappointed actually, because LinkedIn's just started rolling out AI generated content, and I just think of all the places for that to be, LinkedIn is just a horrible place for it to be, because you've already got, like, people already sound like that. Even without using AI, a lot of people already sound like some business bot. But at the same time, that's how people and brands who do sound a bit different, that's where the sweet spot is like, it actually, is it such a bad thing if brands or individuals are using AI and all sounding the same, and then you chirp up with a sex tech pun about something being on the tip of your tongue, you're going to stand out. I mean, you might get banned on LinkedIn, but
nearly have been.
Nearly have you actually? I got the worst I've had on LinkedIn was Dan Nelkin, who I've interviewed for the magazine, so I know him a little bit. He put something about being an idiot, and I just commented, "You're an idiot, but you're our idiot." And they said, like LinkedIn banned me from sending that comment, or it censored that comment. So it's like, of all the things that people say online, and I'm not allowed to affectionately call him an idiot, even though he called himself an idiot first. But I haven't been banned yet. What were you nearly banned for?
Creating an event for sex workers to come and learn how they can scale their business. Like, that was like, they didn't even allow me to create the event.
What?
Yeah.
Is it because it had the word sex in? Was it an automatic like sex censorship?
Yeah, the moment I kept sex workers, I don't know what was the thing, but every time I tried creating it, yep.
Oh man. I didn't know there were such narcs at LinkedIn. It's like,
I mean, it's still
well,
better
I did
than
actually. No, I did know that. Like, a lot of people say on Instagram as well. Do you say?
Oh yeah, Instagram is much. On Instagram, I lost my account, so yeah.
Well, Cindy Gallop, who's got the I can't think of the name of it. I think it's Make Love Not Porn. Is it Make Love Not Porn? I'm going to Google it. Don't mind me clicking on my keyboard. I'm pretty sure
it is that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Good. I won't need to clickety clack. I just suddenly went blank. I love Cindy. She often gets her stuff like censored on Instagram. I think her account's been suspended and then like put back on, and it's like, okay. And I saw something earlier about Meta being in hot water because they're censoring stuff that is about like period education and things. It's like, for God's sake. I mean, I
A
get
lot
that
of
they
fun
need to
stuff.
have, they can't like manually check every tiny thing, so they have to rely on their own AI to check whether something's appropriate. But
Yeah.
come on, is that one of your biggest challenges with your work, is actually getting it past the censors?
Yes, that is one of the things most of our clients come to me as well. Like, we are not allowed to run Google ads for intimacy toys. I'm like, yeah, exactly. So you need me.
Oh, so it's a good thing. Like,
Yes.
that makes you even more valuable to them because you know the workarounds.
Yes. Took a while, but yeah. So, I've really been enjoying this. And one thing when you're saying, it reminded me of one time we were working with a client, and honestly, he's an amazing guy. But when he was writing his newsletters, it felt like he's being a bit apologetic. And me being me, I was like, it's amazing the way you can conveying your tone. I just don't want you to be seen as someone that your audience shouldn't respect in any way. And I was like, but it's just sounding way too apologetic. Why don't you just change the wording over there? He heard that, and then someone else also pointed it out. And a few days later, he was just like, I'm not going to take any of your guys' advice when it comes to my personal newsletter, because this is me. It might sound apologetic, but this is who I am, and this is how I like to communicate. I don't want others' inputs.
Yeah.
And I realized, what? I was not letting him be his best self, because I was working for his company and I was working with him to create the product. But because he always even consulted with me for other things, I started consulting over there. And I carried forward what we were talking about the company, because for me, it feels like a company is your extension. It's a part of who you are. But a company can be a bit different, and it had to be, obviously. And so in that case, I was just like, I'm so sorry. And then we had a laugh about it and everything. But since then, he has never taken inputs from me, or I don't know if he has taken from anybody else. But yeah, he has never taken inputs from me. Like,
see, he knew his what he stood for. He knew.
Exactly.
I like that.
Yeah.
Can't win them all.
Yeah, exactly. You don't have to win them all. But his tribe, his culture, his community, his network, they liked him for that. They liked him for who he is. And if even one or two words sound different, but if that's how he is and they expect that tonality from him, then that's him.
Yeah. That's a great example of how you've learned a lesson from that. You've learned that, actually, no, perhaps I was wrong. That's how he is. But I just want to really quickly say, on that note of being apologetic, I think the times where it does need to be challenged, potentially, is where people do it because they're coming from a position of not having a privileged status. So if it's the classic that we see women in particular do is like, no worries if not. Like, don't worry if not. I don't want to be. Then, and there's this kind of idea that sometimes women can be a bit apologetic for wanting to take up space in a room or a meeting. And I think sometimes it's good to gently challenge it, like privately, not in front of everyone. If you get the sense that that apologetic tone is because they feel like they don't belong there, or that they're not worthy, I think then it's absolutely worth just gently challenging in a private and supportive way.
Of course, yeah.
If you know them already, like not in a mansplaining, like, hi, you don't know me, but you sounded really apologetic. Like not in that way, but I think if you see something like that within your own network, and it's someone that you know and you feel like you can talk to them about that, for whatever, not just people who aren't in a position of privilege. Like, if you feel like it's I don't know. I'm a bit torn on whether you were right to challenge him on it or not, because I do think sometimes people apologize for being themselves when they absolutely shouldn't. But at the same time, it's a slight difference really between that and just being humble. Being humble is great. Yes. We like that, But if you're apologizing for yourself and apologizing for taking up space in someone's inbox, or being really tentative, then, like you say, in some circumstances it can erode trust that people might have and confidence that people might have in you, and it might put them off like engaging with your products or services, because they're like, oh, they don't even sound like they believe it's good. So why should I? But yeah, there's that slight difference between like being humble about what you're doing and apologizing for it, because I was saying, you've probably heard this 1,000 times already today, but please buy this. Like that kind of, if it smells of desperation, then it's not a good thing.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was coming in from as well. But yeah, obviously through the conversation, I started realizing that it was more humbleness rather than apologeticness. I didn't want it, obviously
It's a really fine line, I think, between
it's
those
very
two
curvy.
things.
It's never fine. It's like very curvy based on the person. You never know. Yeah.
Depending on their mood that day.
Exactly.
But yeah, it's a good thing to be aware of, definitely.
Yeah. Yes.
And we all do it. Like, oh, sorry. We all, especially me, because I'm English. So like that's our way, is that we're like, oh, I'm terribly, 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 terribly sorry. So go into like posh, like 1950s voice. Sorry. There's this like built-in thing that we have to say sorry for everything, even if somebody comes and punches us in the face. Oh, sorry for my face getting in the way of your fist.
Yeah.
And yeah, like you're absolutely right though. In a business context, it can be a little off-putting, or very, very endearing, depending on whether they're like all in on it.
Yeah. So, if you're okay, I would like to get a bit more in terms of the overall personal aspect of when it comes to making that shift. I feel like a lot of people are having great life, but it's a passion that they lack sometimes that ends up coming in the way, and they're just like, you know what, even if I'm sustainable, because I've had clients as well that made buckloads but they were not happy, and so then they ended up making that shift. And right now obviously it is challenging and everything, but because of making that shift, they're more happy and they're more passionate towards it. How was that journey for you when you you shared a bit about why you left and you went actually into freelancing, but how has your life changed after you have started freelancing?
Well, I always try and get this privilege check in as early as I can. I'm very lucky that I was able to do it, knowing that my husband was able to take the majority of the bills for a short period as I was like setting up and everything. So I'm very grateful for that. I just want to get that in there, because I think I don't want to make out like I was a single mum working 16 jobs just to make it work. I don't want to give the wrong impression, because that wouldn't be fair or realistic. So that's one thing that really helped, knowing that for a bit he was able to just give me the space to do it and the freedom to leave my old job where I was not making bucket loads. Let me just be really clear about that. Local government, if you want to be, you're not going to be a millionaire working there. But the thing that I suppose freed me from this idea that every job has to earn be more money than the last was way back. We live in Northamptonshire now. We used to live in Ipswich in Suffolk, and at the time I was working with children and young people doing their planning for after school. Basically, it was like careers work. It involved everything from private schools to working in a prison, like a young offenders institution. And that job that I was in, I didn't feel like I was getting, I'm a middle child, so I like to be told that I'm doing something well or what I need to work on. Like, I need feedback. Gimme. And I didn't feel like I was getting that to the extent that was being helpful. So I sought out these this external mentoring type program, and I had the most amazing mentor. I still message her every now and then, like how many years on, 12 years on or something. Her name was Amy, and she was amazing. What she did, and this is actually what I try and do with clients, is she took on everything I was saying, repackaged it and gave it back to me in that kind of like counseling, mentoring type way. And just hearing her say exactly what I'd said, but just slightly paraphrased, it was like, oh yeah. So she challenged me on why I felt like I had these by the time I'm 30, yeah, it was a long time ago. By the time I'm 30, I want to have done this, and this. She's like, why? You're saying you want all this, but actually what you're really saying, what you keep coming back to, is that you want to start a family. So she's like gently challenging me on my big badass boss bitch type idea I had that I wanted to be, that no thanks now. That wasn't actually aligned with what I was really saying. So she really opened my eyes to the fact that it isn't all about money, and curating a life where you have enough of what you need, but you're also there with your children at school pickup, like that. She helped me realize that kind of stuff was really important to me. And it was that early work that then meant I was kind of able to look at work differently. And also when I was doing my careers guidance training, it was like a 2-year postgraduate diploma. I wasn't messing around. I'm a proper careers advisor. Like I've got a qualification and everything. I've got a certificate. It was a really intense kind of learning process about the theories of career guidance. And one of, like, in the old days, I used to try and like, oh, I like this, this, and this. Oh, we'll match you to this job. Well, that doesn't work anymore because jobs don't work like that. So the one that I learned that was really, really, like, it struck a chord and stuck with me was about learned happenstance. So it's about putting yourself in situations where it might not be the ideal thing, but it's what is available at the time. You can learn from it, you can pick up skills and then kind of move. So it's that, like you said, about being curving around when it comes to like client voice. My career has been entirely like wibbly wobbly, and my earnings have been really like wibbly wobbly too. And I think as long as you're approaching each situation or each job or each project with this openness, wanting to learn, wanting to improve on your skills, wanting to do work that you're really proud of, then the money, though this is, again, it sounds like a very privileged way to put it, but the money isn't the main thing. It doesn't rule my decisions about work I take on, because as long as we have enough, I'd much rather be doing interesting work. That's why I haven't gone into like techie SaaS stuff, partly because I don't know what I'm doing, but also because the only appeal really for me in that is, oh, that's where all the cash is with copywriting. That's where the good cash is for copywriting. But if I hate what I'm doing, I might as well never have left my employed role. I don't know if I've actually answered your question. Can you remind me what it was? I've done the wibbly wobbly journey around not actually answering your question at all.
No, you did. The question was like, how has it been after, like, since you have left? And it kind of did answer, because the way it sounded to me was that you are now able to do things that you love and you're not regretting it. And obviously you're making a living out of it and everything. And it's not about the money aspect anymore, but the passion exists, which is more than enough to fuel you to be able to make the money you require.
Yeah, I should add as well, like when I first went freelance, I purposefully didn't niche at all. I was like open to anything and everything. Still am to an extent, because our mortgage just went up. But I was open to anything. I'd take on any type of job. And that was great in that it gave me the experience to be able to do all sorts of work and try out all sorts of work. But it definitely also made me feel like actually I didn't enjoy that particular project. I feel like I shouldn't say what it was, but it was a large piece of work, and it was like a 3 or 4 weeks period. It was very labor intensive. It was very thinky, and it was very dry because it was for an organization that had a very impersonal tone, and it was not. I was not in a joyful place.
I can imagine.
So doing that, taking on loads of different types of things, helps me to work out what I really enjoy, but also not just what I enjoy, but what comes the most naturally. Because I think if you're pushing against the way your brain works, then you're just setting yourself up for a horrible life. So that's why I've now focusing more on the personality filled copy.
It's really fun because a couple of things came up in my head. Like, for me, 2 mentors played very huge roles in my journey. There have been a few, but 2 played very big role, and they're both famous. It's not that I just learned from the best and everything, but I think the first one has always been Chris, and I'll tell this to everyone. Like, I've had 2 mentors that played a very crucial role in my journey. It was first Chris because he taught me the value of business and how I can actually value myself as a professional and the path I can lead. But that made me extremely cocky in the ways I didn't want to be as well. And Then the second
Really?
one, yes, like obviously I have a lot of confidence now and everything, but I picked up a few of the cockiness in the bad ways, and yeah, so
I love that you can recognize that though.
yeah,
Some people never get to that level of self-realization that you have. So
yeah, I was becoming arrogant, and that wasn't a good thing. And my second mentor that played a huge role was Michael Chandler, because he didn't just teach me how to maintain those relationships, but he taught me that you can be a successful business owner and a freelancer and a creative person without having to lose that passion and the love you have for yourself. And that kind of balanced it out for me. So I let them know as well, like Michael knows this very well, that yeah, Chris was the first, but you're the one who actually got things in place for me as well.
tamed you.
Yeah.
Tamed you from being
And
an ego on a stick.
The fun thing is he never really did that. It's just that, I saw the part of myself I wanted to be as a director, as a founder in him. And I saw my success in Chris, but I saw my personality in Michael. And that's how I've been able to, realize who I want.
That.
Yeah.
That's such a nice way to put it. Yes. Can I give someone else a shout out as well?
Yes.
I appreciate it. I've already mentioned her, but Sophie Cross, who is the editor of Freelancer magazine. Freelancer magazine was a big part of my journey to freelancing because I kept seeing the Kickstarter. So she did a Kickstarter back in March 2021 or something. So it was while I was still working, and I kept seeing it. And the way I think of it is it just kept winking at me online. I just kept seeing it everywhere. Everyone was talking about it. Everyone I followed on Twitter was talking about it. And I was like, and I had this massive sense of FOMO. Yeah. But also like this kind of, there could be another way to live my life. And I just really love how Sophie lives her life because she does what brings her joy. She has a camper van that I'm very, very jealous of. She's just a wholesome, lovely human. And she also knows what she doesn't enjoy doing and doesn't do it. No, I don't like doing that, so I'm not going to do it. And follows her passion, follows her interests. Yeah. And I know that I'm not accepting an award, so I'm not going to do a massive speech, but there's one other person that I really, really want to give a shout out to. Please, 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 will you let me?
Yes, absolutely.
She's a copywriter. Her name is Bonnie Harrington, and she is my not spirit animal. She's not an animal. She's just a wonderful human being. We first met each other through a lady called Catherine Jones, who's a copywriter. She got together a crew of people, including Mary Whitehouse and Dee Primmett, who also get special mention. And Bonnie was on the team as well. So that was the first time we worked together. It was my first proper big project as a freelancer. And Bonnie is just an amazing human being. And she set up these Tomato Tuesdays co-working that we call the Pomodoros. And it's open to anyone who wants to go along. And she's just one of those people that is so generous with her feedback. Like if I've got something, I've actually employed her to consult on copy jobs before because she just knows exactly what she's doing. She's amazing. She helped me with my speech that I did last month, and I get to see her tomorrow, so I'm very excited. But she specializes in doing eco-conscious and she's vegan, but she doesn't only work with vegan companies, but she's got a really strong sense of ethics, much stronger than mine. And so that's her specialism. She's a copywriter and she's brilliant. So I love you, Bonnie. It's okay. Our husbands know. It's fine. There's a Body Appreciation Society. I'm the founding member.
Yes. That's amazing.
So go and find her. Go and find her. Arkai, you've got to go and find her and get to know her because she's ace.
Yeah, I'll invite her to the show as well.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I'm just going to give you a long list of wonderful people to speak to.
Makes my job easier.
I'll email you after. And I'll tell you who's a knob as well. Don't talk to so-and-so. They're a dick. I'll just be but you might already have them on the list. But I just want to say as well, I'm not going to give another shout out. Don't worry. You're going to be look, stop. You're not at the Oscars. But on that note of community and friendships, that has been probably as well, and I think they're hand in hand. Being authentic online and being completely myself has led to the equal equal first place, like most important thing for business for me, which is the connections and the community that is out there, especially for copywriters. It's just a mass of wonderful people. Sorry, I don't mean to call them a mass, makes them sound like a big blob. But there's so many wonderful copywriters out there, and so many helpful experts and mentors that don't even know they were my mentor. Ben McKinney, who I mentioned earlier, he's always, we're like voice noting each other, commenting on certain things, or like he's just so helpful because he runs another business as well, doing something completely different. He's a window cleaner as well, and he just has so much knowledge, and everyone I speak to is so generous with sharing that knowledge. They don't gatekeep it, they share it, and I try and do that as well. Like if anyone that does remind me, I've got an email I need to reply to, mustn't forget, who was an aspiring copywriter. He got in touch with me and asked about like how to get into it and stuff, so I try and pay it forward in that way where I can. But yeah, it's everything. It's the first year of my freelancing career. I really need to count it up, because I always kind of quote by plucking a number out of thin air. I would guess about 80 to 90% of my work was through referrals from other copywriters. And that was only possible due to being myself and people getting to know me.
Absolutely, I think that's very crucial, mainly because like for us, most of our clients come because they're our friends. Like I have this saying that instead of trying to say that I'm tired of my friends and referrals and I want to go out, I have a saying that rather expand your friend zone, because the more people you know and the more people that trust you, it's easier for you to work with them. Because at the end of the day, you're always going to think of starting a business with your best friend rather than being like, oh, let me look up some random stranger online and see if they're interested in doing something random with me. Yeah,
you've already built that trust, you know, especially if you've worked on a project together at some point in time, you know that you can trust the output that they're going to bring to it.
Exactly.
You know that they might challenge you gently on stuff if they like need an outside perspective. It really is. I don't mean to sound like all emotional about it. I'm not going to cry, I promise. It's so important. I'd almost say it's the number one thing that you need to do if you're going to go freelance, is start making connections, and not in a salesy horrible way, but just genuine like connections on interests, or oh my god, I love puns too, let's all think of puns about cooking or something. You know, there's so many things you can bond over, and you can't like fast track it. It has to happen naturally, but when it does, it's a beautiful thing. So yeah, I got cheesy again. But then I love cheese. It's fine.
Yeah. We should get one of the cheese companies that you love as sponsor.
Well, I've got a set of cheese top trumps here actually.
Oh. Now I'm hungry. That's
loads
of
different types of
That's
cheese.
Not fair.
I shouldn't eat as much cheese as I do though. It's not very good for me. But yeah, just stuff like that. I love cheese, so I'll talk about cheese.
I've connected with more people because of my love for dogs.
Yeah, exactly. Like put yourself out there, put a bit, and it doesn't mean you have to like put your entire personal life out there.
Exactly.
But just little things like, I think I showed you this last time, my keyboard.
Yes.
This is I love it. I love it like a third child. It's like my favorite thing in the world. Thing, not person. Like obviously the children rank higher than my keyboard, but I love it. And other people who are nerdy about keyboards, like that's another thing to like connect over and talk about. And I think we aren't having, people don't always see the value in posting like the personal-ish posts, but it's everything for me.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's the same for me. Like I feel like, you know, having a bit, like obviously the amount of personal, you know, like you just reveal how much you're comfortable with. It's obviously based upon each and every person, but whatever you're comfortable sharing, it opens up new ways for you to be able to connect. Because we use Butter, and now this is my chance of giving a shout out, and we use Butter for conferencing. And one of the best reasons is that if you get on a meeting with me on Butter, there are going to be dogs running around as a GIF playing in the background. So instead of the black screen we have on Zoom, it's going to be dogs. And that opens so many possibilities for me to connect with people because one, you're either a dog lover and you love that. And two, you're like, I love dogs, but my ADHD is kicking in. Can you please turn that off and everything? And I've had people say that and I'm like, all right, let me turn that off. But it initiates conversations and it lets people know right away the kind of person they're getting in bed with. And
it gives them permission to be themselves as well if you're being yourself. It's not just it's selfish, but it's also completely unselfish, and it's generous almost, like to be yourself and show a bit of yourself, because then it gives other people permission and freedom to do it too if you're in that kind of situation. Even if they're going, actually, okay, I hate the dogs and I'm a cat person, and then you like have a bit of banter about how
I just changed it to cats. I'm like, oh, let me just change it to cats. There are plenty of gifts in the world.
Yeah, well, exactly, like, you know, tailoring the experience.
Yes.
But yeah, I love that, and I think that's the really not undervalued but underutilized trick really is once you've got your very clear brand personality and tone of voice, verbal identity, whatever you want to call it, you can pepper it everywhere. It just sprinkle it on. Like, it's just everything can be like in line with that. And that is something you see, like even just a cookie notice or
I've read your cookie page.
Yeah. I need to change it to something to do with cheese really. But yeah, the 404, just everywhere. The sign up box if you've got a newsletter, though I haven't worked out on mine how to personalize the text on that. I'm working on it. I need to look in Squarespace and rummage around. But it's just everywhere. You can do it everywhere, and by doing it everywhere, you give your clients or your prospects a consistent experience across everywhere, and they start to recognize you by things that you talk about.
Exactly. So
I used to share like stuff I'd found on Rightmove. I've stopped doing that now because LinkedIn doesn't like you doing that. Since the recent algorithm change, they don't like you going too off topic. But also I found that it became like homework, and I didn't want to have homework. I used to share stuff I'd found on Rightmove because I love looking at houses. So houses that I'd found that had something weird about them or were just like gorgeous or dream houses. And then people started sending them to me or tagging me and stuff, because you're like anchoring yourself in their minds as being interested in a certain thing. Then you're the person they think of, and that's. I don't love the term personal brand, but
I just call it a brand. Like exists. That's who you are.
Yeah.
Yes. So now that we're coming to the end of this amazing session, I would like to ask you, if you saw someone who was in a position where they are unable to make that shift, and since this is the Bold Shift Club, we'll be having a lot of wordplay with the word shift. If they're unable to make that shift from doing what they love into doing the things that they enjoy or they're doing right now, what would you tell them? Because personally for me, I'm now in a position, due to the last 3 years of my agency and everything, that I'm now able to convert anything I find to be a passion into my other passion, which is making businesses. I love creating business. I like to see how I can create this into something more for other people. And that's what a business is for me, creating things for others and sharing my passion with them. Mm-hmm. And I'm not just in a time right now where I can there's so many tools out there that allow me to do that very immensely and freely. But also I'm in a position of my own mindset that, like, literally I'm starting a new journal line right now called the Ambitious Runt. And it's going to be journals with like all sorts of funny titles and everything. All the people have been called that, and so
I love that.
Yes, and I can just start like that's you heard it here first, people. But that's the thing.
Like, I promise I won't steal that line. It is brilliant.
Yes. Yeah. So it's just that I'm in a position I can do that. But if you knew someone, or if someone came to you, they're unable to make that shift, how would you guide them?
My first piece of advice would definitely be surround yourself with people who are already doing it. So go on the dead website, Twitter. No, it might have a resurgence. Maybe Elon will leave and it'll be fine. Go online, find the places where people are already doing what it is that you want to be doing. Because I think you absorb that intel, the energy, the excitement, get yourself really pumped about what it is that you actually want to do. Because if you don't put yourself where those other people are, then it can be very lonely. Going out on your own doing something. It can be very disheartening if you're on LinkedIn or something and you put a post out about what it is you're passionate about, but no one responds because you haven't yet connected with the people that are also passionate about it. I just think that is, as a step one, is really important. And you can do that while you're still working in your 9 to 5 or your office job or whatever it is that you're doing that you don't enjoy so much.
Yes.
You can build that kind of network of people who are doing it or who are in similar kind of roles. You can build that up free of charge. It doesn't cost you anything but time. So I think that's a really solid first step. If you're wanting to make a bold move, you need to see what other people are doing first.
Yes.
Especially because, like with copywriting, if you find like there's something called Content Club on Twitter. I keep mentioning Twitter because it had a big part, as you know. It's where we know Ryan Reynolds from. On Twitter, on a Tuesday at 11 o'clock, British summertime, there's a Twitter chat. So getting involved in those kind of chats where you use the hashtag and there's someone that asks questions and you answer. There's regular chats on Twitter. There are probably going to be some on LinkedIn soon because people are moving over. Getting involved with people who do the same kind of thing and just having really casual conversations, surrounding yourself with those experts. I think that is, if you just want one step, that is the best way to dip a toe in and start thinking about it. Because once you are surrounded by those people and you see them doing it, it builds your own confidence that you can do it. It makes those networks like connections that you'll then really pay off in the long run. Though I should add, I didn't do it with that intention when I was doing it, when I was getting to know people. It was more just like my genuine curiosity and interest.
Yeah.
It then paid off. But if you know that you want to make that move already, then making those connections and building, putting yourself in the room with those kind of people who are already doing it is so important. Absolutely. As long as you show up as your authentic self, not some cookie cutter template using fake hustle bro or hustle hun. I generated images for profile text.
But honestly, it's been lovely having you here, Mel, and I hope you had a wonderful time as well. And to all the listeners,
I've had a great time. I knew I would because I like you, and we get on. Validated. It's fine. I knew that I would feel very comfortable, and I did. So thank you so much for having me. I love what you're doing, and I love that you have reached a point of self-realization where you're like, I love the thing you said earlier about taking bits from each of your two main mentors. I very much identify with that, and I love what you're doing. And I'll send you a list of all the good and bad people to speak to.
Well, that helps me because I have like 40 episodes already booked up to record and all, and I'm like,
oh, you don't need any more then.
Oh no, I'm going to get more. I'm going to make a bold shift over here. Yes. But yes, it was wonderful having you, and I hope everybody who's listening here found this to be an inspirational episode, to be able to be something that you can relate in one way or the other, and are able to make the shift in your journey with your limitations or just with what you're feeling, and make the move to pursue your passion if you've been second guessing it.
Thank you so much.